This week, Oklahoma House Republicans elected the youngest House Speaker in state history. 29-year-old Representative Kyle Hilbert of Bristow is currently House Pro Tem, takes on his new role of House Speaker next February. He'll be stepping in for Charles McCall, who is the longest-serving Speaker in state history. Good morning, Representative Hilbert.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Hey, what does it mean to you to be elected by your peers? You'll be 30 next time you take the job here this coming February.
Yeah, it's truly an honor. So for our caucus position of Speaker Designate, it's really a year-long process of meeting with members, traveling all around the state and finding out what issues are important to them. What do they want to see? Where do they want to see the state go? And my age has been talked about a lot, but I don't see that as something to run away from, but to lean into, because Oklahomans, we're a growing state and we have a lot of young families, and I think it's important to have a Speaker of the House who understands what it's like to have a young and growing family while also running the legislative chamber and trying to move the state forward.
It's obviously a big job. You said you've been talking to voters. What are voters telling you that you want to see prioritized next session when you take over?
So it's an interesting situation because Charles McCall is still the Speaker of the House and will continue to be the Speaker of the House for the next 9 months. But a lot of conversations about the future and what are the big issues that we have to continue to address moving forward. And I think one of those is the mental health crisis. We had a lot of challenges with mental health before the pandemic, but certainly in the midst of the pandemic, that's the part of it that's going to keep on going and going. Education is always a hot topic. Our education chair, Rhonda Baker, has done a phenomenal job. I know particularly on reading and early childhood, those are things that we have to invest in, because if kids are behind in the 2nd and 3rd grade, they're much more likely to be behind in the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade and really have a hard time catching back up. So really laser focusing on early childhood and trying to improve education outcomes.
The state income tax cut is looking like it's not going to happen this year. The Senate is not carrying it. The grocery tax cut did happen. Do you see a state income tax next session?
Well, I was really excited this past week. We passed the largest tax cut in the history of the state, the grocery tax cut. And that's going to be huge for families and people all across the state of Oklahoma. 4.5% deduction on your grocery bill, which is huge. In the House, we had passed the income tax, as you mentioned, probably not coming up this session. You know, as we come back in 2025, we will have, of course, economic studies to see what does it look like the revenues are going to come in for the state. And so it would probably be premature today in March of 2024 to say what would or wouldn't happen on the income tax a year from now. But let's talk about the grocery tax. I mean, that was a big win.
Do you see the Senate House and Senate Republicans working together more next year? Obviously, Speaker McCall, Senate Pro Tem Greg Treat, both term limiting it out. Totally new leadership in the House and Senate coming up. What are your goals for that relationship between the two chambers?
Absolutely. Well, Charles McCall and Greg Treat have done a phenomenal job leading both of their chambers, and the state is better for their leadership. One of the first things I did upon being elected is I went over onto the Senate floor to go visit with Senator Greg McCourtney. He's in a similar position as I am. He was elected a couple weeks ago as the Pro Tem Designate for the Senate, and him and I have a good relationship and look forward to working together to move the state forward.
We have a little bit of time left. I want to talk about this session. You are carrying a bill you hope makes it to the finish line. Tell me about this bill and why you think it's important.
Absolutely. Well, one of our big challenges in education is the teacher shortage, and we've done a lot to invest in teachers coming right out of college, making sure they have $4,000 retention bonuses each of the first 5 years they teach in the state of Oklahoma. We've done things to help mentor teachers, make bonuses, but I want to also help teachers at the back end of their career. And one of the things currently in statute, it limits teachers if they're at retirement age. If they retire and start receiving a pension, they're capped at the level of income that they can receive from the state. I want to remove that cap and allow teachers to make both their pension as well as the salary that they were previously making at the school. And when you add those both together, you're talking about a real salary incentive to keep teachers that are experienced in the classroom. That not only helps those students, but it also helps our young teachers to have those mentors that they need to be successful long-term in the classroom.
Well, Representative Kyle Hilbert from Bristow, thank you so much for being in with us early this morning, and congratulations.
I appreciate it. It's an honor.